It's time for our performance review series. And first up is the quarterbacks today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Happy Monday to you, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day. And as a reminder to you, we are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Today's episode of Locked On Bills is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Well, folks, after the Bills season is over, we always spend time on this podcast conducting a performance review series where I go position by position and I evaluate what the Bills have to determine what they need. Over the coming weeks, we will examine every player on the roster and consider their age, contract status, production, review their 2022 season, and provide an outlook for 2023 to lay the foundation for our discussions this offseason. Something that Brandon Beane is doing and Sean McDermott. They're both actively doing this, and so will we. And these conversations, they're going to set the tone for everything we talk about in the coming months when it comes to re-signing players, signing new players in free agency, and, of course, the NFL draft. So let's get started. And today, like I said, is quarterbacks. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Josh Allen, and he will be a bigger discussion than any other player that we have, obviously, because he's the franchise quarterback that is the leader of the team, right? He is the franchise in so many different ways. And so we'll spend a little bit more time on him than any other player. And what I'll actually do here is I'll do all the same stuff that I'll do for every player, but I'm going to give him the full quarterback treatment like I would during our game previews, where I go through the different splits of the quarterback the Bills are facing. I'm going to apply all of that to Josh Allen, and I think that's going to tell an interesting story here. So Josh Allen, as you know, acquired through a first-round draft pick, number 7 overall in 2018. Josh is 26 years old. He turns 27 in May, so this will be his age 27 season coming up. As far as his contract goes, Josh has 6 years left on his deal, and this is technically when his extension kicks in. The Bills can do a restructure on Josh Allen's contract, a base salary restructure that would create $21 million in cap space. I would expect that to happen. So as you look at some of the projections that are out there that have the Bills over the cap right now, a restructure to Josh Allen gets them into a more healthy cap situation, and I'm sure that will happen. He played 98% of the snaps for the Bills offense in 2021, and like I said, we're going to give him the quarterback treatment that we give every quarterback during game weeks. So in 2022, Josh Allen completed 63% of his passes, 267 passing yards per game, 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and a passer rating of 96.6. Of course, Josh Allen makes an impact as a runner, so we'll mention his rushing statistics, which included 762 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns, and that came on 124 attempts. Those 124 attempts are the most of his career. He had 122 last year in 17 games. Remember, the Bills only had 16 games this year. And so as we consider Josh Allen and that rushing frequency that gets a lot of people nervous, well, he just ran the ball more times in 2022 than he did in any other season previously. Now, all the metrics that I'm going to give you moving forward, they include all 32 quarterbacks in the league in terms of dropbacks from the 2022 season. Josh Allen's average time to throw, 2.88 seconds. That's 24th in the NFL. It's the exact same average time to throw as last year. So 2.88 seconds is what he averaged this year and last year. So Josh Allen didn't hold onto the ball any longer than he did last season, which was the fastest trigger of his career. So 2.88 seconds. Josh is never going to be one of those 2.5-second quarterbacks. It's not the style of football he plays. And so I think as long as he's not like getting above 3, I think 2.75, 2.8, somewhere in there is a healthy number for Josh Allen, considering how he plays football. When Josh gets the ball out in under 2.5 seconds, which is 42% of the time, he completes 70% of those passes, which is 23rd in the NFL, so not great. 6.1 yards per attempt, that's 18th, and a passer rating of 101, which is 11th. And so what stands out there is that completion percentage. When he gets it out quick, we're close to the bottom 25% of the league. I would like to see the Bills become a better quick passing offense. Now, when Josh holds onto the football for more than 2.5 seconds, which happens 58% of the time, he completes 57% of his passes, which is 14th in the NFL, 8.9 yards per attempt, which is 4th best, and a 92.8 passer rating, which is 11th. His average depth of target, 9.7, which is 3rd in the NFL. So obviously Josh Allen, big arm, throws the ball down the field. His average depth of target is pretty significant, 3rd highest in the NFL at 9.7 yards. 14.6% of Josh Allen's throws in 2022 were 20-plus yards down the field, which is what we consider deep passing. So 14.6% of Josh Allen's attempts are deep throws. That's the 7th highest frequency in the NFL. And just to give you an idea of where that stacked up against 2021, because I know that the vertical passing element became a big discussion point for the Bills this year, and the frequency of it, it's up from 12.3% last year. So 12.3% in 2021, up to 14.6% in 2022. So they did throw the football down the field with about a 2% higher frequency than they did last season. When Josh did throw the ball deep, he completed 41% of his passes, which is 10th, and a passer rating of 102.8, which was 7th. Play action, and this is something I want to kind of go in on a little bit. Josh Allen had play action on 25.8% of his dropbacks this year, 16th in the NFL. Last year, in 2021, it was 34%, which was 4th highest in the NFL. And I think that's where Josh needs to be. I think it was not good for there to be a 9% dip in play action frequency on Josh Allen passing attempts. Josh Allen is awesome with play action. He had a passer rating this season of 115.4 with play action. That's 4th best in the NFL. Play action needed to be a bigger part of the plan, especially with the uptick in vertical passing. I think that's a real area where I think Ken Dorsey missed the mark this year, was a reduction in play action frequency, which is one of the best things that Josh Allen does. I think that hurt him this year. As far as screens go, 6.5% of Josh Allen's passing attempts were screens. That's 27th in the NFL. I get a lot of questions about the Bills and the screen game and how it's ineffective. Well, it is. You're not wrong. It's not something they do a lot, and it's not something they do well. Only 4.2 yards per attempt on screens from Josh Allen. That's 29th out of 32 in the NFL. And a passer rating of 86.9 on screens, which is 22nd in the NFL. So not a lot of production there when it comes to the screen game for the Buffalo Bills. Now, under pressure, this is where Josh is amazing. When he's kept clean, and this is an area that Josh can get better, which is really kind of strange. He can be a whole lot more efficient when he's not pressured. So when Josh is kept clean and not pressured, he completes 67.6% of his passes, which is 26th out of 32 in the NFL. That's a number that needs to go way up. 7.3 yards per attempt, which is 16th, and a passer rating of 96.6, which is 23rd. Josh Allen, when he's kept clean, he's got to be better than that. Those are not good numbers. For as good of a quarterback as Josh Allen is, when he's not facing pressure, he should have much better production than what I just gave you. Now, when he's under pressure, he's unbelievable. Completes 52.2% of his passes, which is not a high number, but under pressure, that's 8th best in the NFL. 8.2 yards per attempt, number 1. 96.7 passer rating, number 1. So you just kind of look at these splits and you kind of find that low-hanging fruit. Be better in the quick game. Get the play action percentages up. Figure out how you can be more effective with screens. And be better when you're kept clean. That's really where the meat is on the bone for Josh Allen in this passing offense moving forward. Now, as far as his 2022 review, Josh Allen was an elite NFL starting quarterback for a 3rd season in a row. 3 years of top-level quarterback play from Josh Allen. Now, in some ways, I do believe that he lost his rhythm down the stretch, which I think coincided with a bad stretch of turnovers, right? Kind of that second half against Green Bay in the next 3 games, or the next 2. So that 3-game stretch coming out of the bye, Josh Allen threw like two touchdowns and 6 interceptions, something really bad like that. Maybe 4 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. And that was also when he hurt his elbow. And we've heard him kind of become a little bit more candid about that and how it affected him and how he had to change some things mechanically initially, but kind of settled in later. And so you have some bad turnovers, an elbow injury, and then just weird scheduling, right? Where the Bills didn't have a whole lot of normal practice weeks, whether it was Josh not being able to participate in practice as he rehabbed, or kind of just the scheduling dynamics with games being moved around, weather, all of that. I think that really impacted the team. I think from that second Miami game through the Cincinnati playoff loss, that is where the average depth of target and the average time to throw really ballooned up at the expense of efficiency. And so I think the Bills need to find more balance with their passing attack. As far as Josh Allen's 2023 outlook, it's first of all, maintain your level of play. Continue to be an elite top-tier NFL starting quarterback. And I anticipate that he will. I think Josh and this offense needs to find more balance in the passing game. And there's just greater levels of efficiency that can be achieved, especially when you look at the stuff we talked about with quick game, his not pressured splits. That stuff is really obvious areas where this can be better, in addition to getting some more play action back into the mix. I'm looking for a 10% spike back up to where he should be when it comes to play action. But I think bigger than anything here is that the team has to be better around Josh Allen. Offensive line has to be better. Receivers have to be better. I think that is big as anything that I can point at from Josh. I think the team has to be better around him. And I think we learned that right against Cincinnati. And you know, I'm recording this right after the AFC Championship game. I just watched Chiefs and Bengals. And that certainly gives you some perspective on this Bills team and some of their missed opportunities that really popped up against Cincinnati. But quick game, screen game, play action, you know, when not pressured, all of that stuff is where I think there can be some growth from this passing offense in 2023. I hope that you have been getting in on the action over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is my favorite daily fantasy resource. How does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available, and Prize Picks offers projections on every sport that you can watch, and entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. So download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Let's talk about Case Keenum and Matt Barkley as the depth behind Josh Allen in this segment. So we'll start with Case Keenum, who was acquired in a 2022 offseason trade. The Bills gave up a 7th-round pick in last year's draft to get Case Keenum, who is 36 years old. He turns 37 in February. His contract is expired. And so the Bills are kind of in a spot here again where backup quarterback is again a need. Now, as far as his 2022 production, he appeared in 2 games, Tennessee and Pittsburgh, attempted 7 passes, completed 2 of them for 8 yards. As far as his review goes, I mean, he didn't play enough for us to really have a gauge on what he looks like running the Bills offense, which is good, right? We didn't want to see Case Keenum play football in 2022. I do think it was nice to have an experienced backup that's, played in playoff games, that's started a lot of football games, that's seen a lot of football, that you feel like can come in and keep his head above water if he had to play. But fortunately, that didn't have to happen. Now, I know this for a fact, the NFL in 2022 set a record for amount of different starting quarterbacks, right? The depth at quarterback throughout the NFL has been stressed significantly this year. And so I do think it's an important position to have. You want to not only have a player that you believe can step in and run your offense, but also provides an asset to your starting quarterback. I think one thing that we don't think about enough when it comes to roster construction in the NFL is obviously, like I said, you want a starter, you want somebody that can come in and play if necessary. But the entire quarterback room, the starter, the quarterback coach, the backup, whoever that third string guy is, whether he's practice squad or, a QB3 on the 53-man roster, they all work together to get that starter ready to play. They're all instrumental in that. And so it's not necessarily a situation where you say, okay, Josh needs a veteran backup because he needs to be mentored. No, that's not what it is. It's just that the depth that quarterback is really important for the overall production of your starter from what they mean in practice, meeting rooms, and on the sidelines during games. Those guys are all really, really important. All that to say that the Bills have to figure out QB2 again this offseason. Now, as far as his 2023 outlook, Case Keenum, I mean, the Bills had a year with him. And while he didn't play, I mean, we saw him in the preseason, that sample size should provide them with the information necessary for them to know if they want him back for another season as the QB2 or if they want to explore other options. So that's what you kind of lean into, is what did practice tell you about Case Keenum and your comfort level if he had to play? If you liked it and you want to maintain some year-over-year continuity in the QB room, you could probably bring him back for a relatively cheap deal. But if you don't want to, there's a lot of quarterbacks set to hit the market that the Bills could consider. Now, they're going to have to get a low-cost one. They're not going to be one of these teams that's going to go out and pay Teddy Bridgewater 1 year, $8 million, right? This is going to have to be around a $2 million player as your QB2. So they're going to have to kind of layer that all together and make the best decision, but it's obviously a need for this football team entering this offseason. Now, the Bills also had Matt Barkley, who was a 2022 free agent signing, 32 years old. He turns 33 in September, and he was on the practice squad all season. Didn't make, he was never on the active roster. And, I think Matt Barkley is one of those players in the NFL that is always going to be most valuable to the Buffalo Bills because of his relationship with Josh Allen and everything that we just talked about and how he's an asset to him from a practice, meeting room, sideline perspective. I don't think there's teams lining up to get Matt Barkley. I mean, this guy bounced around on like 3 or 4 different practice squads in 2021. So as far as his contract status, the Bills have already signed him to a futures contract. So he's good to go. Now, his 2022 stats, he didn't play. There's nothing to review in 2022. He didn't play. But the outlook here is for Matt Barkley in 2023 to again be on the practice squad and provide value to the team as a scout team quarterback and an asset to Josh Allen, like we discussed. And so Matt Barkley will be back in the mix, but I don't feel comfortable being one snap away from Matt Barkley. I think this is your tailor-made scout team quarterback on your practice squad that also has a good relationship with your starter that helps him perform at his best. I think that's kind of the layers to Matt Barkley and what he brings to this football team. The NFL playoffs are here, and we are really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the #1 sportsbook in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers join today and get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so we've reviewed all the quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Case Keenum, and Matt Barkley. And so just to kind of tie a ribbon on it in this last segment, I want to look at this through the lens of what do they have? What do they need? Right? And we'll do this for every position group. And I'll go in depth a little bit differently based on the position group that all kind of provide different dynamics to how you're going to discuss them. But from the quarterback perspective, I really want to just focus right now on what do they have? What do they need? So what do they have? They have an elite NFL starting quarterback in Josh Allen that's in his prime, entering his age 27 season. That's clear, right? And they have Matt Barkley, who is your QB3. What do they need? Well, a backup, right? They need a QB2 where, could be Case Keenum, but there will be options. There's going to be some options out there. But I think more importantly than anything, other than Josh Allen staying healthy, is to be better around Josh Allen. What do they need? They need to be better around Josh Allen. And I've got 5 things written down right here. It's specifically how the team can be better around Josh Allen in 2023. First of all, shore up your protection schemes. Shore up your protection schemes. Now, like I've said a few times, well, I wouldn't say a few times. I feel like I've said this a lot this year on the podcast. Yes, the offensive line, they lose one-on-one matchups sometimes. That happens. But I almost feel like the protection schemes fail more than the players just whiff on blocks. I think they got confused a lot. I think whether it was interior, maybe some miscommunications there. I think Spencer Brown at right tackle had some issues with IDing some pressure and getting to the right spots and passing guys off with good timing. But I just feel like they have to shore up the protection schemes. And I think part of that could be the running back piece of it too. And we'll talk about running backs tomorrow on the podcast, and I'll get into pass protection. But I don't think, once they trade away Zach Moss, it was Devin Singletary, who's an okay pass blocker, and that was about it. And so how you involve your backs, your tight ends, how you call your protections, your schemes, because I felt like a lot of teams were ahead of the curve, kind of knew how to attack the Bills' pressure scheme, protection schemes. So I think that's got to be a big part of this offseason is shoring up protection schemes, how it's called, where they slide to, communication breakdown, a lot of things that got to get better there. Number 2 is to upgrade left guard. I think Roger Saffold, and we'll get to the offensive line review, but as we consider how the Bills need to be better around Josh Allen in 2023, I think left guard is an obvious spot to upgrade. Roger Saffold has an expiring contract. He's an aging player. Thought he struggled a lot this year. I appreciated his durability, which is something that was an issue for him last year with Tennessee. Thought he was very durable for the Bills, but I thought his performance was poor in pass protection and in run blocking. And so I think you have an opportunity to get better at left guard. Number 3, Spencer Brown's development at right tackle. It sounds like, based on Brandon Beane's press conference, that Spencer Brown is kind of the leading candidate to return for a third season. His third season in the league as the right tackle. And I'm very optimistic about his ability to grow and develop. I mean, you're talking about probably the most athletic offensive lineman in the entire NFL. He's got every physical gift that you're looking for in terms of size, length, athleticism. He's got all the stuff. But I think he didn't take the step we wanted him to this year because of the back surgery, right? Think about that. You're coming out of your first season. You showed some promise, and you don't have really any opportunity to work on your game because you're recovering from a back surgery literally right up until like the final couple weeks of preseason. You know, it took Spencer some time. He missed everything in the offseason. And so he has the opportunity to have a full offseason, improve, and deliver. I think his development is critical. And, you know, obviously they have plans to develop players. They talk about regiments in the offseason, but the huge priority for the Buffalo Bills this offseason is getting Spencer Brown in the right position, right? Not necessarily like moving him to a different spot, but positioning him to take a big step. It's going to be huge. Number 4 here in how the Bills can be better around Josh Allen in 2023 is solidify your slot role. Thought that was a big, you know, when you think about the shifts and things that are different about the offense in 2021 versus 2022, well, it's going from Cole Beasley to Isaiah McKenzie and Jamison Crowder, and then, you know, kind of Cole Beasley coming in late in the season. And Cole Beasley in that slot role has been important for Josh Allen in his development. And I know he didn't have that solidified this year. And maybe a healthy Jamison Crowder changes that. But Jamison Crowder wasn't healthy. And you relied more on a high variance player in Isaiah McKenzie. And I thought that hurt the passing offense, and I thought that hurt Josh Allen. And so I think you need to figure out your slot role. Maybe it's Cole Beasley. Maybe it's really getting Khalil Shakir in that spot. Maybe it's an outside player. Maybe it's a draft pick. But I think you need to find your clear direction at slot and allow that chemistry to be established and for that to be a staple of your offense, because it's been important to Josh Allen in previous years. And I think the instability there didn't help. And then lastly, you got to have a do everything number 2 receiver. I don't know if the Bills are going to attack this in the way that I want them to, because it sounds like Brandon Beane's absolutely in love with Gabe Davis. But I thought having a limited skill set like Gabe Davis as your number 2 hurt the passing offense, where you need a guy there that can uncover quickly in quick game. We talk about Josh Allen's quick game splits. Well, Gabe Davis isn't a guy that gets open quick. So that takes away from your ability to really use him in that capacity. Now, you'd love to have a guy that has a vertical receiving skill set, which Gabe does to an extent, but has some legitimate speed that's not just relying on size and ball skills, but can actually run behind and get behind people. A guy that can give you some yards after catch ability. And I know that stylistically, Josh Allen, the way he plays, the routes that the Bills offense runs, the Bills are never going to be a super high yards after catch team, but I've just been wanting them to get to average. Gabe Davis limits that. There's a reason Gabe Davis's average depth of target this year was 16.8, which is a full yard and a half higher than last year, when he was the number 4 receiver, but now as the number 2, it's even further. It's because he's not an asset in that quick passing game. He doesn't uncover quickly, and he doesn't provide yards after catch. He's a guy that wins down the field with size and ball skills. And, Josh Allen takes an extra hitch, and Gabe Davis can find a soft spot in the zone and make himself available. But in terms of being a separation guy, it's not his game. And I think that is an area that the Bills can be better around Josh Allen, is having a more complete skill set as your number 2 receiver. And so, I don't know that this is like a huge overhaul, right? Draft a receiver, whether that's with pick 27 or in the second round. The NFL has been very kind when it comes to drafting receivers in that range and getting production, and find your guy. Find your complete player, do everything player with a high draft pick, put them as your number 2, Diggs is your 1, bring back Cole Beasley, and then have Shakir and Davis. That's going to be okay. I think you can do that. Then you can get this receiver stuff figured out real easy. You don't have to go sign Jacoby Myers or something like that and pay him $15 million a season. I think you can get a young player here. Bring back Cole, Jameson Crowder, whoever, right? Just figure out your slot, identify it, allow that relationship to develop. Get a more complete receiver as number 2, and then I think you have an opportunity to lean into Khalil Shakir, who really, I thought, had some really fun flashes throughout the season. I'd like to see, him kind of ramp it up with some more opportunity next year. So what do the Bills need at quarterback? Well, we talked about that, but more than anything, they need to be better around Josh Allen in 2023. All right, folks, there you have it. Our quarterback review is complete. We'll turn our attention to the running backs on tomorrow's podcast. We'll get the herd mentality a little bit later in the week. It's a funny week for me because I'm traveling to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl on Monday. And so kind of a travel day on Monday kind of sets my week into a little bit of a funk. So in a day or so here, you're going to see me recording from Mobile and that type of stuff. So it's going to be a little bit different. I'll be consistent for you. I'll have podcasts for you like you're used to getting them. But with the travel day on Monday, it doesn't lend itself to herd mentality. So I'm pushing that a little bit further into the week, but I'll be here for you all week long per usual. Make sure that you don't miss anything. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow.